Thank you. Commissioner Jason Hodges.
A petition for residents from Montgomery County.
Yes, sir. My wife went door to door, knocked on doors. She didn't mislead anyone. If
Yeah.
this lady signed this petition, she signed it not knowing what she was signing, and it was an our fault.
No, well, I get that, but prior to the meeting, she told me that some of those might be from Cheatham County that drive the road. Is that correct?
I don't know that there's many. I'm sorry. I don't know that there's many that from Cheatham. There may be one or two from Cheatham County, but the majority of these are just right around the local community. Friends of ours, people we know, people we got in contact with to get other people to sign them. They're not from all over like he suggested.
Any other question? Commissioner Vallejos?
Thank you. First, I applaud you for going out and doing what you do. That's the democratic way, and I appreciate it. So did you sit down with Ms. Manning pertaining to this?
Ms. Manning?
Yes.
No, she drove up to our house. My wife happened to be at home one day, had a little conversation with each other. Think she told us a fib on what she paid for the thing, because she told us one thing and we've seen in the books that she paid another. So we know she's misleading. If you look on some of the pictures that we have emailed to you, you should have them. It's trashy. Nobody wants that beside their house. And if you look at all those pictures and just look at it closely and tell me that you would want that in front or beside or behind your house, you can't tell me that. I know you can't. All it is a place for rich people to put their stored stuff that they don't want sitting around in their yard. It's a lot of it. You'll see RVs, you'll see trailers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have any other questions, Commissioner Vallejos? Any other questions for Mr. Blackwell? Thank you, sir. Anyone else in the audience to speak in opposition to CZ 8 2017?
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Scott Raitt. I live at 5305 Ashland City Road, approximately 1 mile down the road towards the Cheatham County line. I do live in Montgomery County. I lived out there about 12 years now. And that intersection that they're talking about, Old Clarksville Pike and Highway 12, is a five-way intersection, if you look at it. They put it as a four-way, but it is a five-way intersection. Also, it's surrounded by two businesses, the recycle center, and also two residents. I started counting on up all the roads in and out from everywhere in that whole direction, that small area. We got 9 different ways of going in and out. I've been out there 12 years, like I said, 4 to 5 times just last month. I almost had somebody hit me, come pulling right out in front of me there for no reason. But the thing about it, there's so many, your views are coming out of there, one way or another. 2 stop signs side by side right behind the bent wrench area and over near the service master area. I think it's Old Fredonia Road or whatever it is there. But yeah, I almost had accidents there myself. And depending on where you're going down the road, somebody throws on the blinker, you're thinking, okay, they're going into recycle center. Nope, they're not going to recycle center. They're going off Old Clarksville Pike. You know, you can't trust a blinker down there. And also around 5 o'clock on a Friday when everybody's getting off work and everybody wants to go to get their RVs and get their campers and get their boats and everything else out of the storage facility. Now we're going to have a backlog. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but when Weekly Brothers does your survey, make sure they can account for like 3 fifth wheels at one time, waiting outside your gate, going in or out. Because you know what? That's going to backlog on Highway 12. And it's 55 miles an hour through there. There's a lot of accidents. Now, I wish the county invested stop right up there. The reason
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak?
Adjoining property right behind this proposal. So a couple of issues and things I've been looking at this week, and I hope to you. Problem with it, yet nobody recognizes her. We put our feet to the street and we walked around subdivisions. We went, and some of you that were in the meeting last week, heard me talk about a 85-year-old gentleman that I met that was telling me that he used to walk to that property to an active well and cart water to the schoolhouse. That's part of the Fredonia heritage that'll all be lost with this new construction. That's not something that these folks and I will ever support, ever.
Sir, your 3 minutes is up. If you would, please wrap up your comments.
In closing, I just have to say, the people are speaking. There's a petition right there with roughly 250, give or take. We'll give you a few for Cheatham County. We go to some of the places of commerce around there that people frequently use. That's the demographic that we go to, the people that are going to be impacted by this construction. Those are the people that say no. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Barr? All righty. Thank you. Our next case is CZ 9-2017, application of Brant Land Partnership from AG to E1A. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on behalf of this application? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm closing the public hearing on CZ8. I didn't open the public hearing, John T., so go ahead.
Okay.
I got a little ahead of myself.
We have CZ 9-2017. It's the recommendation for approval with the 4 reasons listed below, and the Planning Commission did vote in favor of this application. I can say we had multiple phone calls in reference to this case whenever we put the sign out. Most of the questions were regarding whether it was the entire tract of land or just a portion, and what you see here is just a portion.
Anyone in the audience to speak on behalf of application CZ9 2017? Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
I'm Jeff Bryant, 324 Highway 13. I am a member of the Land Partnership, and as stated, this is pretty simple. We just want to get that 6.62 acres rezoned. 5 lots is what we have that we're looking at putting there, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Mr. Bryant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience to speak on behalf of CZ9 2017? Anyone else? Is there anyone in the audience to speak in opposition to CZ9 2017? Anyone to speak in opposition? That closes our public hearing. Our next item of business are our resolutions. Commissioners, if you don't mind, we'll discuss 1734, 1735, and 1736. Is probably ought to close those doors. No, that's okay. Commissioners, I apologize, I was jumping ahead of myself a little bit. Our first resolution is 1734, resolution to increase the countywide motor vehicle tax. This was postponed from March. Any questions, discussion on 1734? Ms. Brockman.
Yes. I move to amend the Montgomery County Resolution Number 17-3-4 to add the following mandate. The privilege tax imposed for the use of the highways in Montgomery County and operation thereon shall not apply to non-resident military personnel. The county clerk shall not require such non-resident military personnel to pay the local motor vehicle privilege tax when such person is paying the state registration fee. This exemption is limited to 1 per household.
So that'll be an amendment that you'll be offering next Monday night.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Any other discussion? Commissioners, this is the time to discuss it. All right. Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. I said I wouldn't, but I am. As far as an amendment, I'm going to be offering an amendment on Monday to put this to a public referendum. I think the public has a right to vote on it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Vallejos?
I said I wasn't going to talk. You know, if the public wanted to know about it, they had a public input. And 2 people showed up. You know, I put it on my Facebook. I did everything. I tried to get the public to come out. And so, you know, I'm not saying I'm in favor. I'm not saying against it. But I'm just telling you, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, how many, you know, they offered an opportunity for the community to come out. And it's sad I wish they would more get involved like they do in the zoning cases. So I just thought I'd put that input, but.
Anyone else? I was reminded that if you do have an amendment, if you would get that to Ms. Gentry prior to next Monday night, she can have it typed out so we can put it in everybody's Dropbox and have it available. Commissioner Redd.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a point of inquiry from one of the previous speakers. If it did go to a referendum, when would that take place? Would it be the next?
It would probably take place, I need to look at this timeline.
I guess I'm just asking the proposer, would
Yeah,
he
I
call
think-
for a special election, or is
I
he?
think that you could, it depends on what the amendment says.
Okay,
It could be a special election, it could be an election, and I think Ms. Black's not here tonight, but I think it's probably about 120 days that she needs for something like that.
okay, thank you.
Commissioner Harper?
Thank you, Mayor. My plan would be that if this referendum could take place at the same time on the same election as the state senator special election, otherwise I would not be in favor of it, if that makes sense. I just don't want to add any extra expenses to the taxpayers.
I understand, but you're going to have to let shoes drop. And if there is a special election to fill a Senate seat, then that's going to be scheduled and set up by the governor's office. That's totally their prerogative. And it'll be hard to kind of match up that timetable. To be candid with you, if we said, okay, there's going to be a referendum, but there's only going to be a referendum if there's a special election, and it'll be on the date of the special election, you're really kind of proposing something that's somewhat illusory because you may never get there. But I kind of have to wait for the amendments to come in before I can tell you how they work. If you don't propose a specific special election day, I don't know that you can count on one happening. I can't predict the future.
If that's the case, then I don't plan to offer that amendment, just to be frank.
Well, and I can't really add any more than what Mr. Harvey added, in the fact that we're all assuming it's going to be a special election for a Senate seat that would be vacated from Montgomery County, but we don't know that that's going to happen. I have tried to figure out, and through some inquiries, to figure out if, in fact, Senator Green was appointed as Secretary of the Army, when the governor may call for that election, because it is the state's call, and the state will pay for it. But to this date, I don't have anything.
And in large part, that statute that gives the governor the right to have that election depends upon when that seat becomes vacant. And there's no specific timetable for that.
Commissioner Tooley.
I have one quick question. This resolution to increase the county-wide motor vehicle tax, how will I know to vote on the particular amount? When we vote on this, will it be said that we're going to do $9, $18, or the whole 50? How will I know that?
Well, the way the resolution is currently proposed, it's for a $50 increase. And so unless there's an amendment made to that amount, you would be voting on the $50 increase.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. If, without objection, if we take 1735 and 1736, these are resolutions to amend the funds for the school system for classroom additions at Barker's Mill Elementary and Minglewood Elementary. Any questions on those two resolutions? I think they go hand in hand with 1734. All right, seeing no questions, we'll go on to Resolution 1751, resolution accepting the Public Improvements Program and Capital Budget 2017-2018 through 2021-22, compiled by the Clarksville Montgomery County Regional Planning Commission 2017. Any questions regarding the Public Improvements Program and Capital Budget? It's really a planning tool, is all it is. Seeing no questions, we'll go to 1752, resolution to request unclaimed balance of accounts remitted to the state treasurer under the Unclaimed Property Act. I know Mr. Taylor's here, can answer any questions about that. It's pretty standard, something we do every year.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? All right, 1753, resolution authorizing submission of an application for a grant to continue the litter and trash collection program contracted with the Tennessee Department of Transportation. This is just our annual litter and trash grant. There is some matching dollars, Chief, but those are budgeted dollars, correct? Any questions on 1753? 1754, resolution of support in construction and completion of an industrial access road in the North Industrial Park. All this is a resolution of support. There's no funds attached to it. Any questions? Resolution 1755, resolution requesting passage of a private act by the General Assembly prohibiting officials and/or spouses prohibiting officials and/or spouses to be employed by Montgomery County government. Any discussion on 1755? Commissioner Redd.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, I just want to reiterate some of the things that I talked about in the Budget Committee. The current county officials would be grandfathered, and they are not affected by this law should it be passed by the state legislature. I emailed this resolution to CTAS, the lawyer Libby McCroskey there, and she said that it is clearly constitutional and that they saw no problems with it as far as a legal standpoint is concerned. I also recently sent to CTAS to Steve Walker that works there, our CTAS representative, the updated, or since we had council rewrite the resolution in its current format, and I asked him specifically, the county commissioners that are in office, can they vote on this resolution? And Mr. Walker looked at it. He said that we see no reason for the current commissioners to have to abstain from voting on this resolution unless they choose to on their own. And I asked him that because this resolution specifically says that they would be grandfathered and not affected by this resolution. And I'd be glad to entertain any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to cover some of what was said in the Budget Committee as well, how we got here, basically. This started about 6 years ago at Sumner County, where there was several Tea Party members that got angry, which there was several Sumner County commissioners that were employees of the county, as well as there are many across the state. They got mad, they ran against them, and they lost the election, so then they tried to have it legislated. The Tennessee County Commissioners Association got involved in this, and it came before us in order to help with constructing that bill that was the original bill, which was submitted in 2015. The end product, as Tim knows, which came in 2016, pretty much all it did was define what an employee is. Our legislative, our representatives, and our senators have already done this. And through all the state and everything else like that, they came back and pretty much said, this is the bill that we're going to pass, and this is what it was. It took out all that other language, such as not being able to be a department head and being a county commissioner. It just pretty much defined who an employee is and the new statement that they had to read. So that's already been done. As far as I'm concerned, and let's talk about the elephant in the room, there was in the newspaper article, there were 4 commissioners that were mentioned. I think it's up to the voters or somebody else that wants to run against them. They've gotten reelected, they run again, and nobody else has elected them. So if the voters in their area are good with it, then I'm good with it as well. Tasser did a report. It was a multi-page report. You can look up. It showed how many commissioners across the state were county commissioners and what the impact of that was, and they didn't find any real thing wrong with that, basically, which you can look up as well. The original bill and the past bill, I meant to bring those today. I handed those out in the county commissioner budget meeting. I will forward those tomorrow to your office, and if Debbie would be so kind as to forward those to the rest of the commission, I would be appreciative.
We'll be happy to do that. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a quick question for Commissioner Redd. I noticed there was in the resolution, there's he was prohibiting anyone from being employed by Montgomery County government, but I didn't see a similar provision to Clarksville city government. And just wanted to ask him how he would feel about someone being employed by both entities. Would he have a problem with that?
Thank you for your question. And this resolution does not affect a county commissioner from being an employee with the city of Clarksville. And of course, if you are an employee of the city of Clarksville, or a city councilman in Clarksville, you can work for the county. It does not prohibit that.
Thank you.
And I have no problem. Those are two different governmental bodies. Only the city, if you're a city councilman, you cannot be also an employee of the city. For example, Chief Ainsley, the police chief, cannot be and sit on the city council at the same time. And this is basically the same way. And I guess one other thing, if I may.
With all due respect, I'll come back to you.
Okay, sorry.
He asked you a question. And I'll come back to you. Commissioner Vallejos, if you just hit your button so I don't forget about you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Vallejos.
Thank you, Mayor. I was on the board of the Tennessee County Commission Association when this initially came up and supported it. And when I became president of the Tennessee County Commission Association, I supported it again. I have been on the board the entire 6 years on the commission and have been active in this. And the current bill, has stated by Commissioner Gannon in its language, is suffice for all of us. Loretta Bryant, who was the previous county commissioner for the district of which Commissioner Redd represents, worked for 911 during the time this was going on, and over her constituents voted her in. So when Commissioner Redd stated that his constituents of that district, it's seen fit for 8 years, 2 elections that they voted her in. And so, like I said, the language is already there, and it is strong enough and its proper context to what we need in this body. I would just like to state that the 4 commissioners that were put in the paper are good people. They do the job. And I have no problem with them. I think they represent this body well and their constituents. And due to the fact during the election, their constituents knew who they were and went back and voted for them again. And so during the budget hearing, Commissioner Redd said that his constituents, well, it's just his constituents. And I understand it. I supported this wholeheartedly at the state. I spoke out, went to the committees representing this issue, and out of it came what we have now. So for us to do anything else is an insult to what our state representatives have already done. And like I said, I fully support our 4 that are on here, and I think they're doing a great job. And I just feel it's like, I know he's taking that this grandfathers them in, but I just think it's a slap in the face to our fellow commissioners who are doing a great job. I mean, I'm sure I pushed it. So I just want everybody to know that this is, You know, we've done our due diligence. I did it representing you as the president of Tennessee County Commissioners Association, and out of that came a bill that Commissioner Gannon stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vallejos. Commissioner Riccone.
Well, I do want to thank Commissioner Redd for bringing this forward. That a commissioner brings forward legislation is really part of what makes us a great body, and so I do appreciate that. I was against this in the budget meeting, voted against it. To kind of reiterate Commissioner Vallejos and Gannon, we're governed by Tennessee Code Annotated. I mean, that rules everything we do. And the legislative body looked at this not even a year ago and gave us our rules and promulgated the rules that we follow, which I believe work just fine. And that's with the disclaimer. So I see no reason why we would want to change the rules. One, I don't think the state's going to change it since they just voted on this last year. And then two, I have a very hard feeling, I told this to Commissioner Redd, I don't like us making rules that only apply to us. I think when the legislative body for the state of Tennessee speaks, they speak to all the counties as a whole, and that's good enough, and that's who we should listen to. When we start making rules that only apply to us, we're getting on a slippery slope. So I'm against it for that reason. Also, I'm against anything that's going to limit somebody's access to government. You know, we want people to serve. We want people to be engaged in our community. We want people to be engaged at any level. And I wouldn't want to limit somebody's ability to be engaged as a commissioner or working for our county. So I greatly respect Commissioner Redd's initiative on this. I know he has nothing but everybody's best at heart, but I don't believe this is what's best for our county. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Riccone. Commissioner Keene?
Thank you, Mayor. For 30 or 40 years, Commissioner Letty Kendall was a school teacher, and she was on the commission for over 25 years and kept getting reelected. So evidently, her constituents didn't have any problem with her being a county employee. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Redd?
Thank you, Mayor. One of the questions that, or one of the statements that was made is how we got here. Basically, how we got here, or this resolution, is I made this resolution as a promise to my constituents. This is one of the things that I ran on. And yes, the county commissioner that was here before, she did win the office, but for several times I believe that she was unopposed. And when I ran on this issue, I was elected here. The language, the statement was made that the language is already there. I would dispute that. The language evidently from this resolution that I'm proposing that we send to the state legislature is not already there, because there is not a prohibition, as this resolution states, against an elected official, a county commissioner, also being an employee of the county. The newspaper, and I hear this over and over about the newspaper, has referred to 4 county commissioners, and a statement was made that somehow this resolution is a slap in the face to those 4 county commissioners. First of all, I have no influence on evidently, of what they're going to put into the newspaper, because most of the time, the things that are put in the newspaper, I feel like is not very flattering to my case, but it's certainly not a slap in the face, or I would not have proposed that those county commissioners be grandfathered. And just to make the tone of the remark that somehow it's a slap in the face to my 4 colleagues, I regret that. But, and the statement was made that this somehow would only apply to us, or maybe just our county. This is just a resolution that is asking our state legislative delegation to do this. If they want to just say it's for Montgomery County, that would be sort of their prerogative. It's not detailed in that respect. It could be statewide. And this was mentioned, I think, also in the Budget Committee, about people are limited from running for office. Again, I don't feel that that is a true statement. No one is limited from running for office. If you are a city councilman, you can run. I mean, if you're an employee of the city, you can run for city council, or you can run to be a city mayor. And you can win the office. It's just on the day that you are sworn in, you can no longer be an employee of the city if you do that, if you're an employee. And this would be the same way if you are an employee of the county. You can run for county commissioner or any of these county offices. You can run for sheriff, but at that time, you can no longer be an employee of the county if you win that office. But thank you for your time and consideration, and I would appreciate your support of this resolution.
Commissioner Redd, thank you. I might ask our attorney, Mr. Harvey, one of the comments that you just made was it was not exclusive to Montgomery County, and I believe that it is. Mr. Harvey, you correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I didn't write this. I don't know who authored this for you, but the request is to pass a private act. So it would be exclusively for Montgomery County as I would interpret it. If I were writing it, and I wrote it as a private act, it would be exclusively for Montgomery County. Since I'm not the author, your statement is, the intention is that it's not a private act, exclusively for Montgomery County, but seems to me that it says that. And it also doesn't apply just to commissioners. It seems it's written to apply to any elected official or their immediate spouse. So I'm not really sure exactly what the intent there would be, but any elected official would be beyond commissioners. And I suppose its intent is if any elected official has a spouse that works at the Montgomery County Library, then they would lose their employment, both the elected official and the spouse. And I tell you that I have trouble with the constitutionality of the entire concept, but that would be for someone in the legislature, sure enough, to say, I want to try to pass this, and go to the legislative attorneys and say, can we draft this up and can it pass, and would it be constitutional? But those provisions do create, in my mind, some distinction between the discussion we've had here tonight.
Mr. Gannon, before I come to you, Mr. Redd, I know you've hit the button. Do you want to speak? Yeah.
Real quickly, this is the first resolution, Counselor, that I've submitted, and I know that the original, now you did the format that it is in now, you did rewrite the original that I sent to you.
To this?
Yes.
You know,
the document we're looking at now has been rewritten by you.
I don't think so. Did I rewrite this?
Well, who did?
Well, I really, I know a lot of things.
I think based on the phone conversation that I had with you during our resolution review meeting, I think Ms. Gentry put the language in there that's been very similar to what we've had with every other. Mr. Harvey did not rewrite it.
Okay, very good. Well, I'd like to say too that CTAS said that, if it's a private act, Ms. Libby McCroskey at CTAS, the CTAS lawyer there, she says, I don't see a big problem from a legal standpoint. The nepotism resolution doesn't specify whether they want a general law or a private act. And I would leave that up to the lawyers for the General Assembly to prepare that legislation. So I appreciate you weighing in on that. So
was that based on the one you originally sent her, or the one that we're looking at tonight?
The one I originally sent her. So I'll be sure to make a motion to take that.
I think that one had some discrepancies in it, and that's the reason for the phone call, because it wasn't clear in what it was asking to do. Okay. And in our conversation, we talked specifically about what we wanted to do. I was under the impression that you did want it to be a private act for Montgomery County, and that's the way it's worded.
I will make an amendment and take out the private act portion and just leave that up, like she said, to the General Assembly. I apologize for that.
Thank you for that, and I would highly encourage you, if you're going to do that, to get with Mr. Harvey so we can make sure the amendment is in the proper format.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gannon.
Yes, sir. Once again, I'd like to state, it was mentioned how we got here. How we got here was there was a statewide resolution that went through the Tennessee County Commissioners went through the state legislature and all that and made a ruling and a bill that was passed on statewide on this matter, period, which covers the entire state. This bill here asks for something that's only going to be indigenous to Montgomery County because they've already legislated statewide.
Thank you. Any other discussion on 1755? All right. 1756, a resolution of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners to form a charter commission by appointment. Commissioner Jason Hodges, do you want to speak to this?
Real quick, so this is a resolution asking for the creation of a charter commission. The charter commission would be tasked with writing a charter. So guys, this is not asking you to support or oppose consolidated government. It's just asking to allow Mayor Jim Durrett to appoint 10 citizens to write a charter, along with the city government to appoint five members to write a charter that would then be voted on by all residents of Montgomery County, which would have to pass with 50% of city residents passing it and 50% of non-city residents passing it. It would have to be over 50%, a majority in both places within the city and outside of the city. So, thank you.
Thank you. And those appointments would, if this passes, the 10 appointments that are allowed under state statute by county government would come back to this body for approval. Any other questions? I'd like to recognize Ms. Gamble and Mr. Faust. I know y'all were part of a grassroots effort that started this. I don't know if you have any comments or if anybody has any questions for either one of y'all. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you took your time out away from your families to be here, so I wanted to at least recognize you. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Gamble or Mr. Faust? All right. Next is, if without objection, 1757 and 1758, a resolution of Montgomery County Board of Commissioners authorizing lease of computers. These are student laptops and authorizing lease of computers for teacher laptops. Mr. Grant, I don't know if you want to say anything. These dollars are budgeted dollars. It's just a typical lease agreements, correct? Any questions of Mr. Grant on 1757 or 1758? All right. Under county mayor nominations, we have one nomination and two appointments. Under the nominations, a judicial commissioner, a one-year term, Cynthia Gathers, nominated to fill the unexpired term of Jose Pagan Barnset, who resigned, term to expire March of 2018. And under county mayor appointments, these are to be confirmed by the county commission. On the Personnel Advisory Committee, a 2-year term. Commissioner Charlie Keene appointed to replace Commissioner Robert Nichols as a county commissioner for a 2-year term to expire April 2019. Cheryl Castle appointed to replace Kelly Jackson as an elected official for a 2-year term to expire 2019. And Kenneth Gentry appointed to replace Sherry Robinson as a department head for a 2-year term to expire April 2019. On to your reports filed. You'll see the reports on your agenda. Is there any old business to discuss? Under our announcements, there will be a budget roundtable discussion on Wednesday, May 17th at 5 p.m. in the large conference room. I would encourage all commissioners to attend. To be a question and answer session. And then the public hearing on the budget will be held at 5 p.m. prior to the informal commission meeting on June 5th in the large conference room. Any questions, any other concerns, announcements, commissioners? Thank y'all. Y'all have a great evening. We're adjourned.